5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome everybody. I'm Assembly Member Kenson Chu. Thank you very much for joining us in this hot afternoon. But we have a treat for you. We have our commissioner, insurance commissioner, who is elected statewide, to be here to talk about the insurance issue during the fire season, as well as the pandemic, and also answer any questions that you may have. We also have Chief Hess from the CAL FIRE of Santa Clara unit. I hope you and your families and loved ones are all doing well during this pandemic. I would like to thank everyone for following our state and local orders to wear a mask when you have to go out, shelter at home as much as possible, and wash your hand and keep a social distance when you have to go out. And this pandemic, we know that I will let you know that my office is there to help you with any issues regarding to the EDD, unemployment issue, or some CalFresh issue, as well as some small business relief package issue. Please feel free to contact us, and we have hosted a series of those town hall on the small business relief, on the EDD, CalFresh, and so it's on my website as well as my Facebook. If you know of anybody that might need some assistance and resources from the state government or the local federal government, please refer them to my website or the Facebook. As your representative, I'm really working hard trying to ensure that all the state resources are utilized to assist you. And I'll provide us with some information. Well, today we have our commissioner, insurance commissioner, Lara, with us. Thank you so much for taking the time in your very, very busy schedule. And he will share with us information of what his department has been doing to assist Californians during this pandemic. And also any questions you may have on insurance coverage and how to make sure that you are not underinsured when something happens. Also, during this fire season, the Commissioner Lara will give us an update on what his department has been doing to ensure that all Californians have affordable fire insurance coverage. And our CAL FIRE, Santa Clara Unit Chief Hess, is here also with us. Thank you again. This is I know how busy the firefighters across the state are today in fighting for the lake fires in Southern California. And Chief will provide us with an update on the CAL FIRES has been doing during this fire season and what evacuation during the COVID-19 may look like, and most importantly, the tips for keeping our home and our business safe. And it is unfortunate that but 2/3 of Californians who have lost their home in an accident or emergency find themselves underinsured. As such as tough financial time we're at today, I want to make sure that homeowners and business owners understand the risk of being underinsured and get resources on what kind of insurance they need to cover the cost of damage in case of something happens. Our state insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, and his staff are here to provide us with the information to help the homeowners, renters, as well as the business owners. So with a great pleasure, please join me and welcome my friend or state insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara.
Thank you, Assembly Chu. It's great to see you. I'm glad you're doing well and are safe. Thank you to our Unit Chief Jake Hess for joining us today. I'm happy to join you today as we talk about wildfire preparedness and non-renewals and share some resources for small businesses and give you and your constituents an update on the work that we've been doing on your behalf. Over the past year, before the COVID-19 pandemic, I joined 22 meetings on wildfire insurance across the state, and it was attended by more than 2,000 people. So remember, you were right, you caught me right in the last in-person event we held in San Jose in March, right before the stay-at-home order went into effect. So I'm glad to be with you all again. And since the governor's stay-at-home order, we have also held over 30 town halls focused on business issues like business interruption and workers' compensation, and have reached over 7,000 businesses and consumers on COVID-related issues. Like COVID-19, the reality is that wildfires are a statewide problem, as you're gonna hear from our chief at CAL FIRE. The fires that we have seen this year are a reminder, again, that wildfire season is here, and whether we're ready for it or not, it's gonna continue. If we have another wildfire season that damages and destroys homes and businesses, my department and our staff will be there again to help Californians recover. After the devastating Tubbs and Camp fires, we organized workshops and we met one-on-one with wildfire survivors from the 2017 to the 2018 wildfires, as well as the 2018 fire-related Montecito mudslide. The Department of Insurance intervened and was able to recover more than $240 million for wildfire claimants. The California Department of Insurance, recognizes our homeowners, especially those living in the WUI and who are experiencing a whole host of issues. Sorry for that. And I want to talk about some of the issues that our wildfire survivors and many folks living in the WUI are currently experiencing. Non-renewals, we're seeing an increase in 600,000% in complaints to the department since 2010, and you heard me right, 600% increase in complaints to the department since 2010. Premium increases with more than 268 rate increases filed by insurers from July 2017, from 2017 to July 2020. And there's a lack of insurance in the traditional homeowners and renters market for these communities. The FAIR Plan, again, it is not comprehensive as a traditional homeowners insurance product, and we've heard many complaints from Californians on this issue. And the truth is that 10 of the 20 most destructive wildfires in California's history occurred between 2015 and 2018. As risks increase, the cost of insurance also increases and the availability, unfortunately, decreases. Insurers consider their very recent past to underwrite and to determine future rates. With $25 billion in losses in 2017 and 2018. That is why we're seeing insurance companies request these increased rates. The best way to increase the availability and affordability of homeowners insurance after meeting with so many of our first responders and firefighters is to decrease the risk of loss. This includes looking at where we build, looking at land use policies, and also investing in pre-disaster prevention and mitigation efforts, including building codes, fire-resistant modifications, land use planning, community-wide abatement, defensible space, enhanced infrastructure, and of course, wildfire sensors. This is not, shocking news. We know that these work, and we need to continue to implement these strategies throughout the entire state. I believe insurance companies need to do more to support mitigation efforts at the local level. I have sponsored legislation that would require insurance companies to cover fire-hardened homes in a fire-hardened community. This is an issue that I will continue to pursue. Again, before my election to insurance commissioner in 2018, I authored SB 824, which gives protection against insurance non-renewals to everyone living in or near the perimeter of a declared wildfire emergency. Last year, we actually got to put this new law into effect. now more than 1 million homes in 180 zip codes are being protected until December 2020 from non-renewal. You can find that whole list of zip codes on our website at insurance.ca.gov. If we have another declared disaster in Santa Clara County, hopefully not, God willing, or beyond, this new law will help protect many Santa Clara residents from non-renewals, at least for a year. In terms of, before we jump into questions we received about wildfire insurance, I would be remiss not to mention several actions I have taken to protect policyholders during the COVID-19 pandemic. And really I have taken really to protect our consumers during these difficult times. Because of the stay-at-home orders, we have seen fewer accidents on the roads and fewer insurance losses at businesses. So what I did was order insurance companies to return a portion of premiums to businesses and drivers affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm proud to say that because of my order, California automobile insurance companies have provided $1.2 billion back to California drivers. You heard me right, $1.2 billion. If you want to see what insurance company is doing, and if you want to look up your own insurance company, you can visit insurance.ca.gov and you will see the complete list. This really builds on the action that I took to request insurance companies to give consumers also a grace period to pay their premiums. It's difficult as people are losing their jobs and people are trying to reprioritize their resources. The last thing is I don't want people to lose their insurance coverage if they can't pay the premiums. So many insurance companies have honored my request by offering flexibility to consumers and businesses during the COVID-19 emergency. I want to just go down quickly on other actions I have taken to protect consumers and businesses. We are requiring insurance companies to comply with their contracts in California law by fairly investigating every single business interruption claim for businesses. We've extended personal auto coverage for delivery drivers for California essential businesses to make sure that those delivery drivers are covered and can safely get your goods back and forth. I've also took action so that people with expired licenses or car registrations can still maintain their auto insurance while also, being mindful that the DMV access is limited. We also don't want them to lose their good driving discounts simply because their license expired or their car registration expired, because at the end of the day, we want to keep people safe. And I've also joined with Covered California in urging uninsured Californians to obtain insurance to protect their health. Also directing health insurance companies to submit emergency plans on prescriptions and health access, including increased telehealth access for our consumers. I honestly think telehealth is going to be the future. We also, of course, I know the legislature is working on this issue, so I thank them for that. Also, we got to work on connectivity issues, understanding that not everybody has access to the internet, but telehealth can do a couple things. We can reach more people, we can keep the costs down, and we can also make sure people still have access to care, which is critical. And the last thing I wanted just to quickly say is I'm proud of the fact that we've eliminated cost sharing for COVID-19 testing. That should not be an impediment for people to obtain a test. So lastly, just to wrap up, I want to urge all our businesses to be on the lookout for fraud and insurance scams, especially our immigrant businesses who might be limited English speaking. Unfortunately, during these times is when you see businesses targeted for fraud. Many people don't know, but we have 300 sworn investigators and enforcement personnel with 9 regional offices, including our office in Morgan Hill that serves Santa Clara County. If you see any red flags or suspicious activity, like, we see this a lot with workers' comp. We also see this with fake insurance agents. You can verify their license. You can verify the policy that they're purchasing on our website. You can also, if you feel that something's just not right, give us a call and we'll make sure we follow up with an investigation. If you see any red flags again, and you could reach us at 1-800-927-4357. Again, that's 1-800-927-4357. Again, with the majority of our staff are teleworking in support of the governor's stay-at-home directives, we continue to provide essential services for California consumers, and we are available via phone. Again, I just mentioned it, but I'll say it one more time, 1-800-927-4357, and through our website at insurance.gov. Insurance, I know, can be very complicated, and it's even complicated for me, your insurance commissioner, but we can help guide you through the process. We have insurance experts ready to help and assist your questions in multiple languages. Like I said, you can talk or chat with an actual person, not just a recording. I also want to just apologize because I have to get back to our National Association of Insurance Commissioners conference, but I have John Phoenix of my legal department who's going to be answering your questions. Again, I want to thank you again. Look forward to visiting Santa Clara again very soon. And thank you so much, Assemblymember Chu, for everything that you're doing for our community and our great state.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Lara. Thank you for all the good things you have done for our community, for our state. And I'm very proud to say I was the co-author of the 2 bills that you mentioned. So
yes, you were.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You have to run, and we will move on to the presentation by our Fire Chief Hess. Have a good afternoon and be safe out there. Okay, next we have the Fire Chief of Santa Clara Unit, CAL FIRE Chief, Chief Hess, to give us some information regarding to what we can do to tips to prevent a fire, and also what the CAL FIRE has done to alert. This is to alert us about potential fire. So with that, Chief Hess.
Thank you.
For yours.
Thank you, Assemblymember Chu. I really appreciate the opportunity this afternoon to chat with you folks. And last year I had the opportunity to sit with you for a minute with Commissioner Lara at the last presentation he did at the county building. So it was good to see and hear his update today. So I wanted to take the opportunity today. We'll touch on the screen here in a minute, but I just wanted to chat. There's a number of things I wanted to give a quick update on. Everyone's asking about COVID and how we're fighting fires and things like that. So I'll touch on that, and then some takeaways for the public in regards to our Ready, Set, Go program. So we, as an agency, we have been working incredibly hard, as you can imagine, to integrate the COVID mitigation efforts into our operations. And what does that look like with the public as well? So over the winter, we've had a number of large-scale training exercises where we have 6 incident management teams that help collaborate throughout the state and staff up our large incidents. And with that, we kind of have to look at, let me back up. Let me talk a little bit about our staffing, then I'll get into our COVID. The governor has allocated us an additional 858 firefighters for CAL FIRE. And I know Assemblymember Chu is probably involved in some of the appropriations and things like that at your level. I really appreciate the support on that. If you look at where we've been in regards to a mega fire era is really what we're in. We're in the era of what we are now considering mega fires. Back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, we would consider a 50 to 100,000 acre fire a very large incident. As you know, very well know, the Thomas fire, the Tubbs fire, the Camp fire, you pick one, the Carr fire, they've all been 2, 3, 4, 500,000 acres. So we've entered into this era of this kind of post-drought that we experienced for 5 or 6 years, and we're experiencing these mega fires, regardless of that we've had some banner winters with water in our watershed. We found that it's kind of increased our reserves for water storage, but it really hasn't affected the fuels and the vegetation that are receptive to fire. So to look at a couple of statistics, as of August 9th, we've had 5,000 fires in California from January 1st to August 9th. And that was almost 100,000 acres that we've burned. That doesn't include the current fire that's burning in Southern California. Compare that to last year, we had 3,000 fires from January 1st of 19 to August 9th of 2019 for 25,000 acres. So we're almost at 100,000 acres. It puts things in perspective to where a lot of folks haven't really even heard about a lot of these fires that have burning. As a unit chief in the Santa Clara unit, my CAL FIRE unit encompasses 5 counties: Santa Clara, Alameda, Contra Costa, and the western portions of both San Joaquin and Stanislaus. We've been incredibly busy day to day, week to week, since about April of 3, 4, 5, 600 acre fires just about every week, with the culmination recently of the cruise incident, which was in Santa Clara County, almost 6,000 acres. So getting back to the staffing, these additional firefighters are going to help us with fire suppression and fuel reduction efforts. This is an important component that our agency has been laser focused on. How do we reduce the fuel? How do we harden communities? How do we harden and remove vegetation from evacuation routes? Because what I can tell you in regards to COVID is, well, let's talk about what have we not changed. COVID has not changed the way CAL FIRE has addressed our suppression. We have a goal of suppressing 95% of all of our wildland fires. We would like to keep those to 10 acres or less. So COVID has not changed the way we do those operations. We just simply cannot. That also includes our evacuation processes with the public. In the era of these mega fires, we have found that we are having to evacuate folks more often and earlier because time is of the essence. So we're doing this on our time, not having the fire be dictate how and when we evacuate. So we are in the midst of COVID, we are not hesitating to evacuate people. So what does that mean? So it means we're working hand in hand with our county Office of Emergency Services, Office of Emergency Management, individual cities that may be affected by a large scale, rapidly expanding fire. We're working with all these folks to ensure that there are COVID mitigation efforts for reception centers for these folks. When they are headed to Red Cross, maybe opening up an empty high school, a junior college, a fairgrounds, as we connect these folks, the community, with these resources for them, they're already trained and we've already been practicing how do we social distance at an inception center for people who've been evacuated from a fire. How do we hand out food? Everyone's going to be masking, other hand washing stations. These are all things that we've been working on with collaboratively with our allied agencies. What I can tell you has changed drastically is, what does our incident base look like? And that has changed. Our incident bases are what you would expect at a school, for example, or a large grocery store. There's social distancing. People have to wear their masks. We're reaching out to communities who are affected, and we're doing virtual meetings for communities who are affected. We're connecting with our local public health officer. I really have to give Santa Clara County, Dr. Cody, praises. She has handled this pandemic in a pretty incredible way and was very proactive in meeting and providing resources to us when we did have 1,000 firefighters in Santa Clara County fighting the cruise incident in the rural area of the south of and east of Gilroy. So things have changed, but some things haven't changed in regards to our suppression. The Alert Wildfire Network, I want to talk a little bit about a resource that's available to you folks. There is, I believe, 800 cameras, fire cameras, that have been put into a system called an Alert Wildfire Camera Network. This is how we've pivoted and had to adapt during this mega fire era for additional surveillance of our state responsibility land that we're responsible for protecting. CAL FIRE has invested over $5 million into these wildfire camera detections. And I would like to share a website with you folks. It's alertwildfire.org. And you can go on there and look at the whole host of cameras that are available. And you can look at different timestamps throughout the day. And you most certainly can look at the fire that's burning right now in Southern California and see real time how that is burning. I also want to talk a little bit about, we've had some grant opportunities locally through the Santa Clara County Fire Chiefs Associations, Alameda County Chiefs, and Contra Costa County Chiefs. We've recognized that evacuations with the public is, quite frankly, an Achilles heel of a wildfire that's rapidly expanding. And so we have gone after some grant opportunities where we're mechanizing how we evacuate people. We're going to have a public-facing platform where the public can actually look and see at a potential fire that is starting, and we're able to propagate and look at how fast that fire is going to be expanding through the landscape. It has a tool where we're able to, a chief officer is able to very quickly identify an area, we call it a polygon, on a map, and identify, we need to evacuate these people in this geographical zone. It quickly gives us a whole host of data. How many people live there? What are the roads in and out? What are the choke points? How long will it may take people to get in and out of there? So these grant opportunities that we're very successful in getting through UWASI funds and SHISGAP grant funds is going to have this great public and private kind of partnership where we're going to have an out-facing platform for civilians to be able to see when there's smoke in the air. They can actually look and see, okay, how fast is that fire growing and how fast do we think it's going to get to them, as an example. There are some links on the page that you see there. I really encourage everybody. I could do a 4-hour presentation alone just on Ready for Wildfire in the Ready, Set, Go program. But I want to just take a couple of minutes. Please go to readyforwildfire.org and click on the different links that we have there. It's the Ready, Set, Go program. There's the Emergency Kit program, which has a whole host of great information for from pet supplies to COVID supplies, family contact information, medications, food, water. It's the concept that we call, we provide the offense with all of our aircraft, our bulldozers, our hand crews, our engines, and we encourage you to be self-sufficient for about 3 days, and you provide the defense. And with that, there's a whole host. On the slide there, you see the home hardening link. Go to the home hardening link. There's a lot of opportunities. We call it low-hanging fruit that people can do in and around their property to clean up dead and dying fuels, and really maintain their property for that ember cast that we're really concerned of. It's a public resource code. It's in law that says how you need to maintain your home in the Wildland Urban Interface and the SRA. It's very black and white. There's a lot of programs out there for people who may not have the resources to do that. We recommend reaching out to your local fire safe councils because there are a lot of opportunities out there for that. The other piece is, I really want to reiterate, if you look at the bottom right of the slide, It's Alert SCC. And please, absolutely go and register your cell phone under the Alert SCC program so you can receive reverse 911 calls to your cell phone. With that, I'm happy to take any questions, or I'll turn it back to Assemblymember Chu.
Thank you so much, Chief Hess, for this information and some tips how to hardening our neighborhood or our houses. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank you and all your first responders in your unit for working so hard and trying to keep our property safe and keep our lives safe. So thank you very much. Please convey our heartfelt appreciation to all of those men and women out there fighting for this MAGA fires around the state. So we're getting into the question and answer session. I have received a lot of questions from the constituents, and I would read it out to you. And if anybody who have any questions for the chief or for the commissioner, please feel free to submit them to assemblymember.chu@assembly.ca.gov or click on the Google form links. All right, so with that, let me start out with, and if we don't get to answer all your questions because of the time limit, my staff will definitely follow up after the town hall to provide you with the appropriate resources or answers to your questions. So the first question is for the insurance commission. It's, I paid my insurance, which include business interruption coverage. Why isn't the loss of business due to COVID-19 pandemic covered? John?
Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. I guess the first thing people need to know is that not all policies are the same. We need to look at the specific policy to better understand what coverages and exclusions the policyholder has. If a business has business interruption coverage, but their insurance company is telling them that these losses are not covered due to exclusions in their policy, we recommend that you do file a claim with the insurance company and just get that paper trail going. Insurance companies are legally required to fairly investigate a claim and formally respond back with their coverage decision and the reason for any denials that they make. It's always more complicated than this, but many commercial policies have exclusions for loss due to contamination by virus and similar perils. Many policies also require that a loss be caused by physical damage, that's direct physical damage, or loss of the insured policy that results from a cause covered by the policy. So those conditions and exclusions unfortunately do create some hurdles to people obtaining their coverage. But we would need to see the entire policy as well as the circumstances that are applicable to the loss event to know what conditions or exclusions may or may not exist for a particular business. If a business hasn't filed a formal claim, we would encourage them to do so right away. And if they have filed a formal claim, that claim has been denied, they can contact us. They can get in touch with us and file a request for assistance with the department. And you can do that on our website. I think we've given it. It's insurance.ca.gov, or you can give us a call, 800-927-4357. And I guess just kind of a final thought. While it is true that many commercial policies have provisions that may exclude coverage for business interruption under the circumstances, we'll take a look and we'll ensure that the insurer is properly investigating your claim and following all the laws and the provisions of that contract.
Okay, thank you, John. The next question is regarding to the workman comp. The question, can the workman's compensation company exclude COVID-19 from their coverage?
No, workers' comp companies cannot exclude COVID-19 from their coverage. All workers affected by COVID on the job are eligible for workers' comp benefits, and that's whether or not they're considered essential services. So that's going to include workers that are engaged in frontline occupations like healthcare, emergency services, and other things. Workers' comp also does apply to undocumented workers. In fact, in 2015, when the commissioner was in the Senate, the state Senate, he authored a bill that was signed by Governor Brown that expanded protections for undocumented workers in the event that they are injured on the job, even if their employers don't carry workers' comp insurance as required by law. We've also issued notices to insurance companies. It was actually several months back now in April, to remind insurance companies that they do have that they need to abide by these existing legal protections for undocumented workers. Let's see, Governor Newsom signed an executive order creating a presumption that a worker contracted COVID-19 while on the job if the worker is diagnosed with COVID-19 or tests positive within 14 days of performing a labor or service at the place of work, that there's a rebuttable presumption that they did so on the job. And that order applies to all workers whether or not they're deemed essential. But again, it's worth underscoring for the business owners that this is a rebuttable presumption, meaning that the employers do have a chance to prove that the illness is not work-related. Businesses that are closed or have drastically reduced payrolls due to stay-at-home orders may also see their workers' comp insurance costs reduced in the short term. And in fact, we've ordered insurance companies to give back, to return a portion of workers' comp premiums to businesses. And then we've also issued emergency workers' comp regulations to make changes to reflect the lower risk of worker injuries in light of the pandemic. These new regulations mandate that insurance companies recompute premium charges for policyholders to reflect reduced risk of loss, consistent with the bulletins that we've issued, and will result in savings for many policyholders or businesses.
Great, thank you very much. And we also receive a lot of questions from the small business owners about liability due to the COVID-19 exposure. How can business deal with those liability issues?
Yeah, I think this is a question that's on the top of mind for a lot of businesses. We've been hearing this question a lot too, and we get that it's really hard for people, and it's more sympathetic to businesses. Even when you do reopen, businesses are going to need time to recover. We know that the liability due to COVID exposure is a legitimate concern. It's really something that people are worried about. So we're going to be watching closely to make sure that insurance companies are giving you as much flexibility as possible when you're in the process of opening, and making sure that they're fully abiding by their contracts. There are burdens that are being placed on businesses as they're attempting to reopen, while still keeping their employees and customers safe. And it's really not an understatement to say that there are lives at stake here. I guess I would say that businesses should follow the governance resiliency roadmap, as well as local guidelines, the processes that businesses must follow. And that will go a long way towards getting California through the pandemic. And as businesses reopen, they need to have a conversation with their insurance company or their agent to get some guidance on how they safely return to businesses, how they safely reopen. It's really important for this to be an ongoing conversation where you're working closely with your company.
Great.
If you're an expert, then you can always give us a call. We'll help you decipher the coverage and get what we can and help you through help you through this kind of pretty complicated area.
Great. Thank you very much. And this looks like a follow-up question for a number one question regarding to the business interruption coverage. The question is, what are my options? What are my options if I do not have coverage for business loss due to the COVID-19 virus?
Yeah, so if you really don't have any business interruption coverage of any kind, then there are options that are out there. You can look at various federal, state, local programs. The SBA is a good source on this. There are other sources too. But if you have a commercial policy and your insurance company is telling you don't have business interruption coverage, or that there's no coverage when losses are caused by the virus, we're still going to recommend that you go ahead and file that formal claim with your insurance company. Insurance companies do need to fairly investigate your claim and give you a formal response back. And it's important to get that paper trail going and just make sure you dot those I's and cross those T's. And we'll walk you through your policy to make sure that what they're saying is accurate.
Great. Well, I'm going to give you a break there, John. The next question is for Chief Hess. For those who might not be tech savvy, what is the best way to stay informed when there is an emergency? It's like the alert SCC. Do they would they also call you on your landline?
So, yeah. So, first of all, we always recommend, and I've mentioned it once, but I want to reiterate it. Always register your cell phone if you have one with Alerts SCC. Landlines in the Santa Clara County are automatically receive a reverse 911 call. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the landline is going to be in service. It may have high winds. We may have lost connectivity. It could be a digital phone line that has temporary outage. I know, PG&E is working hard to kind of get some infrastructure in, but there's also telecommunication companies that are struggling with above ground system. So we always encourage the public, first, register your cell phone. If you have a landline, you will get a reverse 911 call. But what we found, honestly, is we encourage the public to enlist family or friends to create some sort of network and help out each other. It's during a large emergency, we host meetings with the public that I alluded to. There are liaison officer, has huge community meetings to make sure everybody's in the loop. An example of that would be on the cruise incident. We had local ranchette and ranch owners and folks who were affected by the fire. We were able to get them information by the public information officers literally going out in the community and looking for people and asking who's affected and who isn't. There are a number of applications out there. One of them was on my slide that Anurag put up earlier. That's the, if you put it up, I believe it's the alert, or sorry, that's the readyforwildfire.org. It's on my slide. That is a application that, yeah, if you go to the readyforwildfire.org, if you look at the bottom middle, to receive text messages. So you can actually register your cell phone to receive text messages for incidents that are growing and rapidly expanding within California. So if they're near you, or if there's any new starts, you're going to get a text message of the location and kind of what the fire is doing, not operational information, but it's public facing information. And of course, you can text stop to stop getting that information when you don't want to. And I know PG&E has some resources out there as well that when they do their PSPS, Power Safety Public Shutoff, if you go to pge.com, I believe there's a link and site there that you can also get alerts to your phone for when the power is being shut off. But I would want to circle back to, we really encourage people to have a network, whether it's family, friends, checking in on each other, because early on in a fire incident, we are incredibly tasked operationally trying to suppress the fire and get people out of the way early and more often, which I mentioned earlier. And if everybody is able to reach out to those vulnerable people that they know early, it's only going to help create a safer opportunity for the public and the firefighters.
Great. Thank you very much for those listeners who live in the east of hills. Please make sure you have your cell phone nearby when you go to sleep at night. And the next question is regarding to the language accessibility. What language are available for communication during the emergency? Can people opt to have the information sent in the language that they are most comfortable with?
So yes, in Santa Clara County, the Alert SCC 911, that is available in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Vietnamese. The interesting point with, so there's numerous command centers and dispatch centers in every county. In Santa Clara County, the primary is, for the county, the primary is County Comm. And their reverse 911 system that they use, Everbridge, has those 4 languages that you can choose from at the very beginning. So you can get that very detailed and potentially life giving information. On the other side, when you call 911 in most counties in California, and it's certainly Santa Clara and the Bay Area counties, when you call 911, there's a whole host, there's a contracted agency. If there's a language barrier, there's a contracted agency that is immediately put on the phone, and they're able to work through that interpretation of the language to then get somebody on who's actually going to be interpret for that individual. So that's a, yeah, good question. And it's one that is used in our very diverse community in the Bay Area. It's used all the time. And matter of fact, my agency offers, you know, a incentive for those folks that are bilingual. They have to take an exam and they have to get vetted, and we encourage those folks to go through that program.
Thank you, Chief. Can we put John back on? The next question is regarding to rental insurance. Say, if I am a renter, do I need to buy my own hazard insurance in case of fire, flood, or earthquake? What about the things like home being broken into and items stolen?
Yes.
For the renter.
Excuse me. So your landlord does not have to provide insurance for your personal property, and having your personal possessions wiped out in a fire or some other insurable event, if you don't have coverage, that's a tragedy. It is a tragedy, but it doesn't have to play out like that. That is what a renter's or tenant's insurance policy will step in for under those circumstances. A typical policy will cover your possessions if they are lost or damaged as a result of fire, theft, or vandalism. It can protect you from liability if someone gets hurt on the premises, and it can give you compensation if you have to live somewhere else because of certain events like storm damage or like an apartment fire. Some renters will live in areas that are identified with flood risk, and they will need to consider getting flood insurance also from the National Flood Insurance Plan to help protect the contents that they may have from like rising sea levels and things like that. But they should be aware that those kinds of policies don't cover the costs of additional living expenses after a flood. In that case, you can contact somebody like FEMA or something like that. But in general, you don't need renter's insurance unless your landlord requires it. But renter's insurance is usually pretty affordable if you shop around, and we do encourage people to purchase that kind of protection for themselves if they can. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. The next question is about the non-renewal. If you are a homeowner living in a high-risk or close to a high-risk area, are insurance company required to provide you insurance coverage, or can they deny it to insure you?
Yeah, that's not really an easy question to answer. There's not really an easy answer on this one. I mean, private insurance companies generally can deny homeowners insurance coverage due to high wildfire risk. We do have a backstop in California for this. It's the California Fair Plan. They backstop our insurance market, our property insurance coverage with property insurance coverage. It's backed by all of the admitted property insurers, each to the extent of their own share in the California market. And the Fair Plan can't deny coverage based on your wildfire risk. But I mean, we don't really think that this state of affairs where insurance companies can just give blanket denials of coverage to people who have done the work to protect their homes from wildfires is really all that fair. This year, actually, the department sponsored a bill in the legislature that would have required insurance companies to offer a policy to a fire-hardened home in a fire-hardened community. It would have also required premium discounts if those home hardening efforts were taken. Unfortunately, that bill wasn't heard in the legislature, and instead an industry-sponsored bill that will hurt consumers was put forth instead. But we're going to keep pushing. We'll keep pushing for consumer-friendly legislation. I guess the only other thing that I do want to throw out there is about the FAIR Plan. There are no guarantees of coverage for homes for limits that exceed those offered by the FAIR Plan. So think people that have relatively high value homes. And while there may be some rate pricing protections in place with respect to the admitted market and FAIR Plan, there's not any guarantee, unfortunately, that those premiums in the FAIR Plan are going to be affordable for people.
Where can I purchase the FAIR Plan? Just through my insurance agency, or have to go through the California insurance?
So the FAIR Plan is its own independent organization. The FAIR Plan actually has a website you can go to
Okay.
for your coverage. You can also ask your agent about it, and they'll be able to help you out with that.
Great, thank you so much. And then the next question is about underinsured. Does the insurance department have any resources for consumer to help figure out that, you know, am I underinsured or not?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. Underinsurance is a really important issue. I guess just to kind of define the term here, underinsurance happens when your coverage limits aren't adequate to replace your home or to cover a loss or to cover some other property in the event of a loss, or maybe like rebuild after a partial loss, or provide adequate liability coverage if a visitor gets badly hurt. It's a really important issue that we see time and time again, is that people aren't checking to make sure that that they have enough replacement costs if their home gets burned down, for example. Replacement cost is not the same thing as the market value of your home. It's the most important thing you can do is to go check the policy itself and discuss the coverages and limits with your agent or broker or the company itself. It's so important to make sure that you have coverage. You do not want to be in a situation where you have a heartbreaking situation where a home burns down and your insurance is not going to pay to get you back to the place you were.
Great. So can we get some information from the department regarding what's the right or proper replacement cost? Or this really depends on the area where you live, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's in large part, it's a really dependent upon your personal circumstances, right? It's the kind of thing where you have to look and you have to see, because some people, they'll have, you know, extra structures on the premises. Other people just have the home. It's one of those things that it's a really highly individual, and some people do make the call to go ahead and maybe not totally insure. So it's one of those things where you have to sit down and do some kind of thinking about what's important to you and work with an insurance agent a lot of times, or the company. They can help you with that kind of thing. There are rules in place to make sure that they're doing so fairly.
Right, and you need to do it on a regular basis. Maybe every 2 years you sit down with the insurance agents to make sure that you have the proper coverage. The next question.
Assembly member, I don't know if my internet's down, but you're frozen on my screen.
Yeah, he's frozen on mine too, John.
Okay.
Or he's just temporarily.
It looks like he may have dropped off. I see him here.
Please hold. There's some technical difficulty. We'll be right back.
Okay.
I see he's rejoining us now.
Wanch, can you ask the question that was submitted by audience? So our intern, Wanch, is going to be asking some questions that was submitted by our audience. Go ahead, Wanch.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. The first question we have is, will covered California keep its eligibility period open all 2020 due to COVID-19?
So the part we haven't heard whether it covered California is going to be extending their COVID-related enrollment period through the entirety of 2020. There's a current special enrollment period that extends through August 31, and then the open enrollment period that will begin on it's November 1st through January 31st. If you've lost your health insurance coverage, you may qualify for that special enrollment period. So that's something you should look into.
The second question we have here is, what special protections are in place for Medicare supplemental insurance, such as Medigap plans during COVID-19?
So those policies are guaranteed renewable, and the benefits are dictated by federal law. If you need Medicare counseling, the California Department of Aging offers free counseling through HICAP. So that would be the resource I would go to for that.
All right.
Third question we have are premium increases on health insurance frozen during COVID-19?
I see Assembly Member Chu. Welcome back.
No, sorry.
I'll just briefly answer that question, then we can get back to the others here. So the department does have rate approval over things that may be broadly categorized as protecting your business or property. So think like homeowners or auto or business liability. But we don't have rate approval authority over health insurance. But our rate reviews for 2021 rates are going to be taking a very close look to make sure that the rates do reflect the costs of COVID-19 and that kind of thing.
All right, great. Actually, I have one more question for Chief Hess. What is one of the services that CAL FIRE provide that is not commonly known to the public? What can we talk about some more services that CAL FIRE provide that's not commonly known to the public?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The first thing that comes to my mind is everybody thinks of CAL FIRE with our helicopters and our aircraft. We have 23 air tankers and 13 helicopters and 17 air tactical planes and all, we're almost 10,000 employees if you count our seasonal force. But that's our operational arm of CAL FIRE. Just as important, and arguably right now in this mega fire era, even more important, is our resource management side of people who wear this patch. And with that, we have foresters, Forester 1s, Forester 2s. We have biologists, hydrologists. We have forest pest specialists, I think they call themselves. Archaeologists. This entire arm of CAL FIRE is very focused in on fuel reduction, timber harvesting, vegetation management, burning. So there's this whole bee's hive of energy as throughout the winter that these folks are chewing through and getting fuel reduction projects. They're dealing with CEQA environmental stuff. So they're really tied in with the public, people who own land in privately operated timber harvesting and private landowners. They're able to offer different grant opportunities through our CFIP program. So this is a whole arm that now, when I first started in CDF at the time in 1995, I didn't really know too many people in the resource management part of our agency. And since this mega fire era, kind of the early 2000s, kind of the Cedar Fire hit, we're definitely, we're lock stock now with the resource management side. An example of the work that these resource management folks do is we, in Assemblymember Chu, you're very familiar with the Highway 17 project. It was one of the governor's projects. It was birthed from the 45-day report. And there were 35 projects that were designed and identified in California to protect the most vulnerable communities, 200 of the most vulnerable communities in California. And one of those projects was the Highway 17. It was $9.5 million. We used greenhouse gas reduction funds to fund that project. And the resource management side of CAL FIRE was the lead. My unit forester, Ed Ori, was the incident commander of that, and he was involved with Caltrans and CHP and these other folks that were with agencies who you may not have known that they have their own biologists and scientists and hydrologists. And I really, it's a great question because I like honoring them because they're kind of the unsung heroes right now. Their work is so important and it goes kind of unnoticed, but operationally speaking, we reap the benefits from a lot of the work that these people are doing. So.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. That's all I have from the people that submit the questions earlier. So I want to thank all those people that submitted those questions. And I'm going to turn it over to our intern, Vansh, who will read those questions that we just received.
Thank you. The next question we have is, what is the difference between earthquake insurance and fire insurance if one day we have an earthquake and the house catches on fire? Is the fire insurance covering my properties?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sorry, I was having a little bit of trouble on the mute here. That's a great question. So earthquake insurance is typically going to be in the event you have a really severe earthquake event. Homeowners insurance policies will typically have a coverage for what is known as fire following earthquake. That's actually a technical term that you'll find in the actuarial literature. And you will have coverage in the event that an earthquake does result in a fire to the premises.
Okay, thank you. And the next question we have is, Commissioner Lara issued a notice instructing all insurance companies to stop enforcing policy or statutory deadlines on policyholders for claims or coverage until 90 days after the shelter in place from my worker compensation insurer for the previous year ending in April 2020. And never notified that the policy is re-examined at the end of the policy date and the premium is recalculated. This occurred after my business was forced to shut down on March 18th of this year. Am I able to delay this payment per the guidelines you listed?
Yeah, so I didn't hear all of the question. I seem to be having a little bit of audio difficulties. I kind of take the thrust of it as what do I do with the grace periods and that sort of thing. I think the thing I would suggest there, it sounds like it's a pretty individualized problem you're having. Reach out to us. We'll take a look into it. We have a really active consumer hotline, and we'll confer a little bit and see if we can get some help to that person.
All right, do we have any other additional questions?
No, I think that'll be all, Assembly Member.
Okay, great. I want to definitely thank Chief Hess and John, and the big thanks to Commissioner Lara to joining us. But I want to thank all of the listeners here as well. Again, this one, Town Hall will be recorded and posted on my Facebook and the website. So if you wanted to review any question or information, please feel free to do that. And also share with your friends that you think might be helpful to them. And thank you so much for all the questions. And if your question did not get answered today, or you have some question later on, we will follow up and refer you to the appropriate resources. So please keep the question coming. And please continue to stay home, practice our local stay order, and do not forget to be kind and help each other out during this tough time. With that, Chief Hess, do you have some final words before adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I really appreciate the opportunity and the invitation to the town hall. We're always available if in the future, and really enjoy spreading the public is the most important piece to our job. And I just want to reiterate what you said in regards to staying safe. I can link that to our wildland fires and our emergencies that even during COVID, we always try to encourage people to make sure you have a go kit, 3 days worth of food and water, medication, things like that. It's really important right now to be identifying those vulnerable in the community that you know, friends, family members, and really putting them on the radar of when an emergency does pop up, we need to know where those folks are and how we can help them. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to doing it again.
Great, thank you very much. With that, we will adjourn the town hall. Please stay cool, drink a lot of water. We're in a heat wave here. All right, thank you.